Hi everyone, thanks for coming to the event today. I'm Adam Weston, founder and CMO of Growcreate, and with me today is our senior UX consultant, Ash Fielder. Today is a short practical session where we're going to explore Umbraco Engage and show how it helps you turn website visits into measurable results. We'll be focusing on three things: how to personalize experiences directly inside Umbraco, how to engage users' first-party data to power better targeting and reporting, and some examples of using Engage to drive conversions without extra tools or any heavy technical support. We're keeping this informal, we're keeping it really casual today. So there's a few slides, but nothing too full on, and Ash will jump into a demo. It's conversational, and no doubt I'll interrupt with some questions for Ash as we move forward. But I suppose the next step really is introducing Ash and starting the show. Ash, over to you.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Adam. So hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. As Adam mentioned, my name is Ash Fielder, and I'm the Senior UX Consultant for Growcreate. My experience has been in branding and marketing and obviously user experience, and focusing on the strategic side of things and how it is that you can improve operations and internal systems to get more bang for your buck from all of those different facets, especially around the digital kind of side of things. To make a start on discussing Engage, Umbraco Engage is a complete all-in-one toolkit for marketing on your website. It's an extremely powerful set of tools, and its great advantage comes from being able to deliver all of the different kind of like tools that you would utilize in a marketing campaign and in evergreen materials, but all in one sort of like solid place, so that your content editors and your data analysts and everybody else is able to just kind of use the same pool of information without having to go away and jump into a series of different and very expensive toolkits. That's the kind of like the big power kind of like piece.
So where does it sit, Ash? Where does it sit? Where does this? As I said, I'm annoyingly probably going to jump in, but where does Engage sit?
So Engage sits actually in the Umbraco CMS, and what we'll kind of like do at a moment is we'll move into a demonstration of that and showing where it sits, and we'll do, as you said, some demos of how to build things and where things live and how you can use and leverage it. But it all exists in the CMS itself. And that means that, again, your content editors are able to get to this information as they need to. It's Umbraco, of course, so it's completely customizable. If you only want certain people to have access to certain things, you're able to do that as well. But it's all there to help, again, expands the skills and expands your team's kind of capabilities, and enable them to be able to do what you want to be able to do to make your marketing more impressive and get what the results that you need. Yeah.
Okay, so just as a question, Ash, like at the moment people are using like maybe a MarTech ecosystem. They've got Umbraco they're using as their CMS, and then maybe they're plugging into Marketo or something else for their marketing activities, or HubSpot or something like that. And what we're suggesting is that rather than using a third-party tool for some of your marcoms, you're just bringing in some of that analytics and testing and personalization all within the back office of Umbraco, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's two like significant advantages to that. There's a whole series of advantages, but the two key advantages is, one is consolidation of those materials. You're not having to jump around and have different access to different places, have different seats for different things. The other advantage is that it is all first-party material. So there's two, again, I'm going to keep saying two or three, so just get used to that as we go. But the first-party data stuff's really powerful. The first reason for that is because it means that the experience from a user is seamless. So a problem that you'll face with something like A/B testing or Crazy Egg or other kind of like platforms that do A/B testing, is you'll always get that little kind of like blip when someone's introduced into an A/B test system. Because it's all first party, none of that happens on Umbraco Engage. If someone goes to a page and they experience an A/B test, they get that, they get the content and they get the layouts and the design of the page straight up. So there's no interference in the process. So for the people that are more marketing aware, then there is no kind of like loss of that experience. So that's a really good plus.
Why is it important to hold first party data? Why is that an important thing for
the other
a
reason,
marketer?
yeah, and this was what I was going to move into the next piece. The other advantage of having the first party information is that you're able to get a lot more information because you're utilizing your first party cookie setup. And this is something that goes more into the technical realm, so I'm not going to touch it too heavily because I haven't got the ins and outs, both from a legal standpoint and also from a technical standpoint. But the layman's results of this means that you're able to get more analytics and you're able to get more tracking from individuals, even if they don't necessarily kind of like comply with your cookie kind of consent systems. Because it's all first party, you're still able to kind of like track some real key kind of information and profiling data. So you are able to track anonymous journeys. So you're still able to see behaviors, even if you're not getting the full kind of like touted information, which you can't currently get access to on any kind of like third-party materials, which is super
because
useful.
They need to click the cookies and stuff
Exactly.
like that in order to be able to access that. And of course, the data becomes is owned by you as an organization, right? As opposed to being owned by Google with analytics, for example, or A/B testing with A/B testing and stuff like that. You own the data, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's the other kind of significant advantage to this is that although you're not going to necessarily get the full blow of the data, you're no longer reliant on somebody else's contracts or someone else's systems. Where again, if for whatever reason that you are utilizing Hotjar, and then you choose to leave Hotjar, you obviously lose a bunch of that kind of like data. There are obviously certain policies in place where you can't even extract that data to then use it later on, even if it's for historical purposes, because it's not yours. And then all the stuff with Umbraco Engage is yours, and it is stuff that you're able to kind of continue to utilize as you go through.
So I suppose this is important for like regulated industries, right? So anyone that needs to not share their data with third parties, Engage is a good marketing tool option that sits in the back office of the CMS. Okay, I've got it. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I suppose we're on to the live demo, Ash. Do you want to get stuck in?
That seems like a good plan. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll come off and I'll hand it all over to you, and we'll catch up. I'll try not to interrupt.
I think that's absolutely fine. If there's anything that you have, Adam, as a point, please,
maybe
please
I should just wait till the end.
Free.
Let's
Feel
try and
free.
do that. Cheers.
All right, so I'm just going to start sharing my screen, and hopefully what you'll kind of like see is the Engage on the top level. We're using a instance of our own site for the purposes of this demonstration. So not all the numbers are going to be kind of like accurate, not everything's going to be kind of full, but it gives you just like a bit of a snapshot of where this is. So you'll see we're in the Umbraco CMS, and we just have this tab up here for the Engage platform. And then below that, you're able to see the different tools that we have available within Engage. Moving from analytics, A/B testing, personalization, profiles, reporting, and settings. And to kind of like start off on the initial, what I would like to do is kind of run through the idea of if you were to build out like say a campaign, just a single life temporary thing, how would you kind of go about doing that? And what it is that Engage can help to support that in. Obviously, the first thing is that we're able to kind of like get our analytics, and the analytics we're able to, it's nothing too insane. It's not too dissimilar to something that you would have in Google Analytics. The difference is, again, it's first party. So you know that like this is like the most accurate that you can possibly kind of receive. And we are able to run through on different page views. We can, break down into different periods of time. So we're able to check like through the course of a year. We can compare different periods if we kind of like want to. That's all not a problem. And we're able to break it down into different kind of like weeks, months, that sort of stuff. You'll also see on the top, we're able to check a series of different kind of like items. So an example could be that I'm able to go to certain sessions. I can go to different browsers and I can see the activity there. And then below that, we have these other kind of like items that are available. This gives us our breakdowns. And then we're also able to select individual breakdowns, and we're able to see that sort of pattern here. So on this, you can see that I've broken it down to the different kind of like Chrome versions. And I mean, I don't see why the point of this is, but for the sake of the exercise, you can see that we have these different Chrome browsers and how they're kind of performing as well. Some other items that are available on here, stuff is surrounding goals. We can talk about goals later, but it's basically a part of Umbraco Engage for you to set up goals, both micro and macro. We also have referrals, as in where it is a different users and visitors are coming to the site from. You can see we have some Google, we have some Bing, etc., etc. We also have campaigns. So all of this stuff is the super useful stuff to be able to kind of like use. And this is information that's both available on a top level. So obviously I'm looking at the entire solution at the moment, but I can also get the same information on a page level as well. So if I go to, say, the main homepage of our website, and I go to the analytics here, you'll be able to then see all of the different stuff for an individual page. I'm also able to break that down into including sub pages as well. So I'm able to get groups of pages. And the addition for a page is that I'm also able to get heat maps. So I'm also able to kind of get the analytic data to understand where it is that users are falling off, how far below the fold that they are going. I'm also able to do that on different device types, so desktop and mobile. And I can also check against different variations. The variations are surrounding personalization and A/B testing, so we'll come back to that at a later stage. But I can use all of this analytics to then get information to inform me on what it is that my campaign should be driving towards, or where I should be putting signposting for a campaign, say. If I then move into an area such as personalization, and this is where, say, like I want to go start building out sets for campaigns, I'm able to actually put scoring against campaign for certain personas. And I'm also able to build out personas, and my personas can be for evergreen marketing campaigns. You should hopefully have those kind of things already built into your marketing stack and into your kind of strategy. So we can put those different persona groups into Engage, and we're able to kind of like read out, and we are able to describe who those different personas are. And when we build one of these groups, we're also able to add certain settings to these as well. So we have a high level of control as to who it is gets counted as a persona, how long they count as one of those personas, and what other kind of like ways that they could then swap personas if possible. So we have that kind of option. And then when we have our personas, we can also build journeys. You can see here what we have is we have the classic Google experience, being able to see, think, do, and care in these different steps of these journeys. And it's the same process. We're able to then assign different settings to define when it is that a user kind of like sits in that journey, how long they sit in that journey as well. When we kind of built those different personas and we built those different journeys, we're able to then attribute scoring to the website to then, again, make sure that when the user does certain activities, they visit certain pages, they do certain things, that they get scored against those different personas. And you can see here that we have some campaign scoring. And what we were able to do is we're able to track all of the different campaigns that come to the website, even ones you might not be aware of, and you're able to then put them into different campaign groups. And when you put them into a campaign group, again, you can add scoring against each of those different personas and also each of those different journeys as well as you need to. When you've kind of done that, you can also do the same thing with referrals. So when someone lands from a specific page, let's say that you have certain partners that you work with on a marketing kind of basis, you're able to then build them into a group to then assign certain score values. And adding all of these scores allows you to then build these personas, which you can then use to then personalize to. When we personalize, we need to make segments. And in order for us to make a segment, all I need to do is just click on add new segment. And you can see we have a series of different options to define what a segment is. Some of that stuff can be to do with personas and to do with journeys, but it can also be other things that aren't related to those at all. So it can be stuff related to number of sessions. So if you have a visitor who is spending a lot of time on the website, they've clicked on a couple of pages here and there, you can maybe want to engage that segment to them, send a pop-up to them to encourage them to do a specific action because they're clearly engaged. If they've come through a specific campaign, you're able to then personalize to them as well. And then when we build these segments, that allows us to then, cater and update the content on the page. I'll just quickly go to that, and then we'll move on to, the A/B testing, and then we can then call it a day on just on live demo stuff. So just under here, I've built out one I prepared earlier moments. I'm just going to see if it kind of like pulls through. Hopefully it will. There we are. Where I've built out a personalization under the strategic consulting. So this is our strategic consulting page. And then under here, I've built a personalized variant that is utilizing a segment. And that segment I'll demonstrate later on, but it basically is a segment that's not going to be something that we need to worry about at the moment. And when I go to build that, you'll see that what I have here is I have the original on the left. So this is the original page. And on the right, I have the personalized version. And on this personalized version, I've got updated copy that encourages a different kind of like set of approaches. I have a different layout. I have utilized different kind of like colors and focuses. So I built a bunch of different things to kind of like work more for that particular audience. The other thing that I can kind of do with personalization, and we can't demo it at the moment, is as well as personalizing for single pages, we're also able to personalize multiple pages, and we can also personalize on specific objects on the website as well. So that can be look and feel items. We can change the CSS of a page. We can change how the motion, say, of article cards or something like that. The other thing that we're also able to do from a personalization standpoint, again, is just dramatically change everything on the page as we need to, as well as changing particular journeys. So there's a lot of things we can do with personalization and what we can do with Engage, which again, because it's all in the browser as well, means that it's very, very easy for us to be able to just save and publish and then move forward. And by using segments, we're also able to define how long personalization can last for. If I only care about doing personalization, say, for a summer campaign that lasts for a month, I can set up my segment to only last for that month. And when that's done, all of this stuff closes down, everything resets back to the original, journey and the original content. A/B testing is basically the same in terms of how it operates and how it functions. We have different groups for A/B testing, and what we can do is exactly the same thing as we just saw from before. So if I go to this A/B test, I'm able to build a hypothesis on what this test should look like, and I can test as little or as much as I want. For those of you who are, marketing experts, you'll know that from an A/B test point, we don't want to test things too heavily. We only want to test sort of like small components here and there. But if for whatever reason you want to, say, test a significant amount of changes, you want to test like the layout of a page, you're able to do that because we have the same editing experience as we have with personalization. You can see here with the test that we're running at the moment that we have a difference of visitors is not too high, which is quite good. We have the number of pages. We can see the goals that are completed because we assign a goal to an A/B test. And we're able to see kind of like what that conversion rate is of that goal, which means that we're able to kind of like, again, validate which ones of these are working successfully. And all of the tests work on a time basis. So once they have the correct amount of data, they will end automatically. But also we're able to end the tests whenever we choose to as well. Depending upon.
Can I ask a question there, Ash? Does it choose?
You certainly can.
So if the test is successful and you end up with more goal completions on your variant, does it automatically pick the B variant, or would it just run with that, or does it close the test down, then you manually have to choose the variant?
Yeah, so that it's the latter. So if I end this test now, I can stop and complete this now. And if I stop and complete this now, it means I can't use it later on. So I can't use this example now. But it's going to give me this thing where it says it did not result in the winner. Obviously, I'm defining the winner because I'm saying that B is like the leading. And you can see here, I can now select this and I can confirm, which means that it will then go to that variant. Or if I go, well, I mean, I tested it, but I don't want to change anything, I can now just select my original and I can just move forward from there.
And the reason why it hasn't resulted in a winner is because the test hasn't been running long enough, right?
Exactly that.
Okay.
So it wants to collect like the correct amount of data to validate what that winner is. I can't remember the actual acronym for this, but effectively, again, it's a case of like once it's gotten, say, a couple of thousands different visits and it's been able to kind of like, ascertain a winner from there on the threshold, it will then say, you've got a winner, and then you can go and action it. But
does it
most of the
estimate how
time,
long it thinks it will take you before the test is complete?
it does. It does. It does depend on the data, and it depends upon the maturity of the analytics that you have available to you. So if I go to this A/B test, hopefully it does say, oh, I've stopped the test now, so it's not going to say. But usually,
sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. I ruined my own demo. But yeah, usually it will have in this sort of space here, just where we have the information in the settings, it will kind of like highlight how long it's going to take for that test to complete. And depending upon where you're testing and depending upon what your traffic levels are, that can really widely vary. So if obviously you're testing on a page that has a lot of traffic, it can say is like as short as a week, it will be completed. Whilst if you're testing on a page where you very rarely get traffic on, it might say, oh, this will take 5 years to complete. At which point, again, you can kind of make your own assumptions as to when you should kind of like close that test.
Okay, all right, that's great. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. So again, in terms of like what we're able to do with the A/B testing and what we're able to do with personalization, they're both very powerful and they're very easy to use because you use the same editing experience that you use for building your content naturally. So you're not having to learn any new other UIs, you're not having to learn any other kind of like systems to get this stuff through the line, which is very good. The last thing I just wanted to kind of like demonstrate here is also just the profiling, and this comes back to the whole first party data stuff. So here you can see that when I go to profiles, I have a collected total amount of profiles, and I also have like the amount of new profiles that I have available, as well as what the profile growth is. And this information is able just to, again, it's nothing really too crazy, but it helps us just to understand, when we're getting these peaks in the profiles and when also we're getting return visitors, which is super valuable from that perspective.
So these anonymous users, so it's anonymized for a start.
Yeah.
This is everybody that visits our website. It's not just people that have clicked the cookie.
Yeah, it is correct. These are all visitors.
Okay.
This is not a case of a user has had to accept or decline cookies. If a user's declined cookies, we will still get some level of data, but we won't have any personal data at all. And actually, even if they accept, we're not going to get any extra information. The only way that these profiles become unanonymous, when they actually kind of like have names and identifiers against them, is if we have an e-commerce journey and then that user is like gone through an e-commerce process. That point, we then will have some level of data accessed to there, albeit not if they've rejected the cookies.
Okay,
or
so
if we have some sort of login
process. If they've downloaded, a document, or they've wanted to download a white paper or some gated content, it's when they reveal something about themselves, right? Like their name or email address or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, precisely. So if they've accessed it through a gated method, so again, if you have like an Umbraco Forms hookup, and Umbraco Forms, by the way, works very powerfully with Engage because you also get a lot of information from these sorts of sides. The profiling gets lit up, but also analytics help support that as well. But if again a user's kind of like rejected those cookies and then they've gone through that process, then it will still remain an anonymous kind of like scale. So it does depend. But if we then look at some of these journeys, this looks a bit suspicious, to be honest, like 18 sessions and 56 page views. So that might not be one that we'll look at. As we kind of like just scroll down here, we can select maybe this one. This seems a bit more reasonable. If I click on show this profile, It's then going to give me like a profile potential. So they're active, but they're not very engaged. It's able to then show me where they sit in that persona group. So I'm able to kind of like work out, you know, whether or not this is a person that's sitting in my personas and what journeys that they're in. The stuff that's more powerful, I would say, is the fact that we're also able to check again their activity. You'll notice that we don't have any kind of like information to identify who this individual is, but we're able to definitely kind of like see how it is that they explored the site and where they went and how they went. You'll see I've got a series of different sessions here. And then under each session, we're able to see how many pages that they visited and also their total amount of time and how many events that they've triggered. If we look at this example, because we have 3 events triggered, I'll open this up. And you can see below here, we're able to look at what pages that they've looked at. And then we're also able to see what it is that they've actually done from an event standpoint. If you have custom events, or if you've hooked up Umbraco Engage to your Google Analytics, you're also able to get the events that serve there as well. So you can see here, we've got an event that's triggered and it's a tracking allowed and it's Google Analytics. So it's highlighting where that event is coming from as well. And this is the stuff that's really powerful for you to be able to take these micro options and really understand that to a greater extent and understand your different kind of like journeys and each step that they kind of take. So these are the kind of like the ways, again, when it comes to an analytical standpoint of going micro and macro on that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop sharing the demo and just quickly just share one more little piece surrounding you know, the marketing experience side of things, and just to sum stuff up because I'm conscious of time. So you know, in terms of supporting the marketing campaign, you can just see here, like if we were to like build a temporary campaign going through the briefing
Let's
down
make
to
it
the
accessible,
debrief.
actually, Ash. Sorry, it wasn't on.
Oh, sorry.
My fault. It wasn't on the screen. The screen
Oh,
share's
that's
on now.
fine. That's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's all good. It's up there now, right? So that's the main
Yeah, it's
part.
up there
People can
now.
see it
That's
now.
it.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, in terms of like how it is that Engage can then sit in your campaign efforts, you can kind of just see here the different kind of like items that you have for each different step of that. You know, from production, being able to build segments and personas to, you know, when you're starting the actual tracking process, you can check on the segmentation performance. You're able to update A/B tests. We really haven't even scratched the surface in this demo. There is a bunch of other things that Engage is capable of, but I think those are like the important kind of like features. And you can see some of these in this. But then you also might ask the question of like, how does it help support your evergreen marketing? And again, it's stuff that's not too dissimilar effectively. Like as we go through the evergreen marketing cycle of building out the content and then publishing it, pushing it, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, Umbraco Engage is able to really support a lot of the analytics side of things and the interpretation. So when you're refining your evergreen content, you're also able to update your scoring on certain items. You're able to kind of like better personalize, and it helps to really expand a lot of different areas from that as well. So that's kind of the other stuff I just wanted to cover, make sure that that stuff makes a bit of sense. And I think we're at the point when, you know, I'm able to put it to a close and start talking about any questions that we have.
I suppose the big question, because we're running really long on time here, or short on time, long on time, I'm not
Short
sure.
on
But the
time.
big question
Yeah,
is if someone wants to try Engage, what's the first step?
well, the first step is you know, to reach out to us, and then we are able to then start conversations to see what we can do to get some trial runs on that and get that kind of like set up. That's the main thing. We're also able to have we have support in documentation, which we can also kind of like provide to, you know, describe more in detail what it is that Umbraco Engage does and how it actually achieves what it achieves.
Okay, and how quickly can a team start seeing results from like personalization and first-party data tracking and stuff like that?
I would say very, very fast. It depends upon, you know, the actual kind of like site performance and, you know, the amount of visitors that you're receiving. But after getting, you know, Engage set up successfully on the platform, you know, and getting that low code solution set up and getting all your personalization and stuff set up, within like the first few weeks, you should be able to start seeing some actual key results and then be able to start kind of like moving and modifying everything moving forward. And because it is, again, an extension of the marketing ecosystem itself, you are able to then adjust Engage itself. If you're not seeing the results that you're kind of expecting, you adjust persona scoring, or you adjust the journey scoring, so that you're able to better cater to that.
All right. And how do we support teams in rolling this out? Do we build it for them? Do we help them build their first campaigns? What happens?
Yeah,
Someone's contacted us. What happens next? Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so we need to obviously actually build the thing into the solution itself. So there is some technical kind of like setup and making sure that kind of works the way that we're expecting it to work. So there's that technical side of it first. After that, then we are happy to support clients as they need. Some clients are happy just to kind of get the ball rolling and see where things kind of like work, and then they ask us for help at a later stage. Other clients have requested us to be able to, again, help them to translate their marketing strategy into Umbraco Engage, and how do they define their personas, and where do they put the persona scoring, where do they align the different campaigns, and then help them to build out.
Help and some don't, right? And
exactly.
And you can either go it alone, or you can work with us in order to make it happen. Ultimately, I presume this means that I can then switch off some of my third-party tools that I no longer need, right? And roll it all into one solution as well, which means that I'm not jumping between solutions in order to be able to achieve my goals, right?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I think there's there's a lot of savings to that as well, which is just a plus, right? The money in that is a far more effective, cost-effective measure.
Okay, so listen, thank you very much, Ash. Thanks for coming on the call and explaining that for us. We're hit time now. I'm really sorry, everyone. If you've got any questions, then maybe you could put them in the chat, and we'll reach out to you individually. Polina will come back to you. We'll send out this video hopefully later today, and we'll create a blog post about this briefing, and we've published a video on our website as well. So reach out to us directly. If you want to speak to Ash, reach out to Ash. If you'd like to speak to me, reach out to me, no problem. And we're happy to talk to anyone about Umbraco Engage. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have lovely days.
Cheers. Bye-bye.